And welcome back. Time to work on the hair a little bit. It looks a lot whiter, doesn't it? This is because quite a lot of the primer got chipped away by handling. Well, like it has been on the boots here. So I added some more primer by brush. I used this Vallejo surface primer, which happens to be white. That's why it looks white. Yeah, I applied 2 coats. It's very thin because it's intended for airbrush, so it's not going to obscure the detail too much. And for the hair, I'm starting out with this color, Scarlet Red, which is just your basic deep red color. I think it's the darkest pure red they have in the game color range. To that, I've added about it's about my base color that I've mixed up is about 2/3 this color and 1/3 Beastie Brown, which is a kind of mid-range orange brown. The reason for adding the brown is that red hair is not just pure red. It realistically has either brown or blonde tones in it, and I thought I'd go for a sort of auburn brownish red here, and I've mixed that up with some medium and water, and I'm using a relatively large brush here, a number 1 brush, and applying a first base coat, and just see how this looks. And I think it looks okay. We'll see. As per usual in this project, I have not pre-planned or pre-tested any of my mixes. I'm just mixing up each highlight as I go and see where it leads me. And if after I'm going to be pretty much going dark to light here, though I'm open to the idea of shading down again once I've applied the base coat and a few highlights. If I feel that it's getting too bright and it needs to be toned down, I'll do that. I'm not married to any particular painting scheme. I can improvise. I'm just trying to be careful when I'm close to the face here so as not to hit the already painted areas. Now in the deep recesses here, I've been covering up a little bit of the brown liner, but that's okay. That's just there as a safety measure, really. Is this hair here, or is that part of the bikini? I don't know. I'll paint it red for now. And you just have to turn it from all angles to make sure I haven't missed, because the sculpt here is very detailed and flows every which way, and yeah, I'm just not gonna paint this portion here because that's where the cloak part will attach. Well, we can test and see how much I need to paint actually. So I've painted the, oh, what's this, a hair? The portion of the hair that's on the cloak, and I'm just going to dry fit this. Yeah, it fits together like that. yeah, the parts that I have painted are pretty much gonna do it, I think. Maybe a little bit more on the underside of these, and a little bit more on the tips here. But that'll do it for the first base coat. And I think let's let this dry. And all right, let's start applying the second coat. Now, this paint, apparently I didn't thin it out as much as previous base layers, or I don't know, maybe it's just more covering, because I don't think I'll be needing more than a second coat of this base color. I can pretty much start highlighting after this has dried. I believe so. Well, I have to think about what should I highlight this up with. I'm looking at a few colors, and we shall see. I think I might go for an orange at first to sort of go with the tones in the Beastie Brown. Oh, and by the way, another reason I'm using Beastie Brown specifically, that specific paint, is that I intend to use it for some of the leather later. And I like doing that when I can, to use the same paint in different places, in different combinations. I'm hoping that sort of subliminally it will help to tie the model together for the viewer. You know, nobody's going to be consciously aware that, oh, that's Beastie Brown in both the hair and the leather, but, you know, it might help the whole thing look coherent, if I'm lucky. And there, I think that's the second coat of the base paint. Pretty much done. It's not covering great here up on top, but I'm going to highlight that area anyway. And you can see the hair color. It's not entirely unrealistic. It's a bit bright red still in its current state, but you know, the highlights, I think, will take care of that. Oh, there's an air bubble I need to pop. Yeah. Looking good so far. And how long have I painted? Almost 10 minutes. So, yeah. Probably not going to finish the hair in one video either. But I'll pause here and come back when it's time to apply the first highlights. Okay, so the only non-Dayglow orange in the game color range is this, the heavy orange, which is more subdued. And I mixed a bit of that into the base coat to make the first highlights. So let's start applying some of that. And now I'm going back to my trusty size 0 brush again. I'm just gonna carefully delineate a few strands here to see what it looks like. And it's, yeah, it's a highlight. It's a step up. kind of side brushing here to get it more quickly. Since this is just the first highlight, I don't need to be super precise and meticulous about it. It can I'll fix it in the next one. But you can see, I think, that it's bringing out texture. Now here at the very top of the head, there are no strands of hair sculpted in. So I'll... maybe that was a bit much, but oh well. I'll at least try to keep the part in the hair here. I don't know what else we can talk about. What can I do to keep highlighting this? Well, I'll try to add more orange. I'm not certain that's in the long run going to help. I think I might need to add something like a beige, like a bone white, something like that, to keep going up. And then I'll probably have to do, as I hinted before, find some way to sort of shade down from this. But I'll apply this highlight quite strongly on the top of the head. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a low battery indicator here. That sucks. Let's see if I can at least finish this highlight before the camera cuts out on me. The good thing about this large scale model is that in some ways the highlights are easier to apply when you're doing at least when you're doing these broad strokes. It's yeah, it's quite helpful to have a big model. I think that's the first highlight done. And it's almost dry already because this paint mixture was a bit thicker than the previous one. I see an area here where I need to go back with the base coat. So while I recharge the battery on the camera, I will also experiment a bit with how to mix the next highlight. See you in a bit. Alright, then it's time to apply the next highlight. And I think by looking at the time, I can see that this will be the final thing I do in this episode probably. I'm going to keep painting, but I'll have to cut it up into two videos because I don't want to make them any longer than 20 minutes, as I think I mentioned before. I don't know if this highlight was a bit too bright. So we can tone it down a bit. And well, we'll see what happens when it dries. What I'm doing right now, I'm painting in strands of hair that aren't actually there. Huh. To explain what I'm doing here, I'm starting to apply highlights, shrinking them to only those areas that are sort of at right angles or almost to the sun. So the parts of the hair that are hanging down vertically would not receive as much light, and so they won't be highlighted as much. I'm not pulling that highlight as far down. But here at the top, and where the hair sort of curves out again in curls and bangs and whatnot, those parts, at least the raised portions of that, I will still be highlighting. And because I'm highlighting kind of sparingly, it'll go a bit faster, but still I need to be showing a little bit of care here. And oh, I didn't tell you what I used. I considered using bone white to up likeness of the, but eventually I went for elfic flesh instead. Not sure if you can see the difference. The elfic flesh is a bit more yellow than the bone white, and I thought that would go better with the sort of red-orange spectrum of colors I'm using. Oops. Got a big glob of paint there, but I can take that away. And the risk is always that you get to a highlight that's too big a jump in shade, and it's not going to look good. But you have to apply the color, then take a step back and look at it sort of objectively, which is hard. And I just don't know. I might have to sleep on it. Of course, the danger of sleeping on it is that the paint that remains on my wet palette overnight might get really, really watery and unusable, and so I'll have to remix it. But now, down here, these curls would actually not receive any light at all, so it's not realistic to highlight them, but I'm doing it anyway just so they will be visible. But I'll stop here with these highlights, these pseudo highlights, these more so to speak. Yeah. This will be it for this part. I will have to split this into another video where I do the final highlights and probably some shading. I'm gonna have to, I think I'll add some spot washes for shade. But until then, thank you for watching. I'm Dakian, and I'm signing off.